Good evening from Mission Control. That Kendall-Lott guy is off tonight, so we have a new guest host, Michael Hannon, who will join us, and we'll be starting right at the top of the hour. Thanks for joining. And again, greetings and good evening from Mission Control. We will be starting right at the top of the hour. We do have a guest host tonight. Michael Hannon is joining us, and if you'd like to have a little fun in the chat, we've got a little thread that we're trying to kick off. Wonder what Kendall's doing tonight. You know, we can make up some sort of wild stories, and then we'll share them with Kendall, and I'm sure he'll get a chuckle. But thank you for joining us, and we'll be back with you right at the top of the hour. Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome to episode 23 of True Talks Live. This is a live stream talk show that was created to provide you with perspectives for project management in a format that we hope you find both entertaining and informative. Tonight's show is being recorded for on-demand viewing later. I'm Beth May, your MC for this evening. True Talks Live is co-sponsored by PMI Southern Maryland and PMI WDC. Our creator and executive producer is the amazing and wonderful Harry Zolkauer, current president of PMI Southern Maryland. Our director of communications is Marta Leva, and our producer is none other than Dan Stay. Tonight's guests are from the PMI Phoenix chapter, which won PMI's Chapter of the Year award for 2023. According to PMI, this award celebrates standout chapters, acknowledging their impactful contributions to members, the project management profession, and the Project Management Institute. I had the pleasure of talking briefly with our guests yesterday, and I'm excited about what they have to share with all of us tonight. The work they have done with their chapter is relevant not just for PMI chapters, but for all organizations, including for-profit corporations. Helping our guests tell their story tonight is our guest host, Mike Hannon. Mike is an entrepreneur, best-selling author, professional speaker, adjunct professor, and project portfolio performance management expert. His career spans a diversity of fields, from engineering to international trade policy. Of particular note are his support to the International Space Station and being the lead author of the best-selling book, CIO's Guide to Breakthrough Project Portfolio Performance. Mike is also co-founder of Project Management for Change and serves on its board of directors. Our guests from the Phoenix PMI chapter are Stephanie Hanko and Dr. Pitch Balasubramanian, two remarkable professionals with a wealth of experience and expertise in project management and leadership. Stephanie Hanko is a senior principal at CSG Government Solutions, and she is the board chair at PMI Phoenix. She has extensive experience in leading government system projects with a focus on quality and risk management. With a master's degree in psychology and credentials as a certified project management professional, Stephanie has meaningful insights to share about effective project management strategies. Dr. Pitch Balasubramanian is a senior leader with more than 30 years of experience across diverse industries. He is the Director of Industry Consulting at NTT Data Services, and he is the board treasurer at PMI Phoenix. Pitch is known for his innovative approach to solving business problems, and he is passionate about leadership development and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Over to you, Mike.
And you didn't mention that we are partners in all sorts of things. So good to see you again, and good to be welcomed here at True Talks. I had the great pleasure of meeting with our PMI Phoenix chapter folks the other day, and I think you're all in for a really big treat tonight. Not only are they an inspiration to what we as chapter leaders can do, I'm a former chapter leader, so I'll just still count myself as a chapter leader. But really how it doesn't take much more than average people doing extraordinary things. So you don't have to have everything perfect. With that, let's welcome our guests. Hey, Stephanie and Pitch, welcome.
Hi.
Hey, Mike.
Thanks for having us.
So great to see you again. So here we are with PMI Southern Maryland chapter and also PMI WDC. All, I'm sure, very eager to learn how you guys cracked the code on really breaking out of sort of, humdrum PMI chapter management to something that could be really inspirational and encouraging to people that want to make a difference beyond just, attending a rub and chicken dinner every once in a while. So with that, Stephanie, why don't you tell us a bit about what drove the sort of change that you guys decided to make?
Well, I think as we were applying for the Chapter of the Year award, one of the things we really focused on was trying to identify the data, what made us different, what made us special, what drove kind of our story. And I think as we assembled the data, we surprised ourselves. So what made us special? We had focused on membership. We had focused on bringing members back into the chapter. If you remember, it was kind of the recovering from the pandemic. We had done a lot of work on revitalizing the board. The board, as with probably every chapter, the board was made up of volunteers. The volunteer population had kind of gone down. So we had to revitalize the board. We had to revitalize our volunteers. We had to revitalize our membership. Our membership had dropped. Our volunteers had dropped. Our board had dropped. And so we had spent a lot of time identifying new volunteers, focusing on our membership, focusing on what was driving our membership back into the chapter, what was going to bring our volunteers back into the chapter to really volunteer, and what did we need to do as a board to revitalize the chapter. And that is what was, when we applied for the Chapter of the Year, that was our story that we told. And I think that came through, and that was one of the reasons. So as a board, we went from having half of our board seats open to filling them all, and having quite a diverse board, filled, not only in terms of how we looked, but in terms of age as well. We had some that were kind of newer in their careers, and some that were older in their careers, and some that came from lots of different backgrounds and what they were doing in their careers and different experiences. And it was a really quite an energetic and energized board.
Wonderful.
And I think
So
we all gelled together.
I'm so curious now. We're all familiar with, if things aren't staying vital or revitalized, to use your term, then they tend to drop off. But was it just inertia that caused the drop-offs in your mind, or was it something, I don't know, that caused your membership to disengage?
A lot of it was the pandemic. People were hunkering down at home. People were disengaging. Choosing to not get engaged in the chapter, and some of it was, where did they want to be spending their time? Where did they want to be spending their money? And so, can you still see me? My view changed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My view changed. I wasn't sure I was still connected. So we wanted to focus on, what was going to bring them back into the chapter. And part of what we did as we got this energized board is, one of the things we talked about is we decided as a board to really focus on our culture, what was going to make the board successful, which was defining our culture as a board, what was going to make us successful. We wanted to make sure that we worked together effectively. And so we developed a culture statement as a board to make sure we were working together well. And there you have it. As a board member, I'm accountable. Yeah, I'm accountable for delivering chapter objectives by working collaboratively with synergy and responsiveness to each other to add value to the project management community. And we start each of our working sessions. We get together quarterly. We do it in person. We're committed to working together in person. and doing strategic planning sessions quarterly. And we always start out every session with that. And we remind each other of that culture statement.
So, and question for you, Pitch.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Stephanie. Finish your sentence.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'd like Pitch to weigh in now.
So, we've all been leaders, whether of chapters or other things, even of projects, right? And many of us have come into situations where things aren't as good as they could be or should be. And we're asked to make a change or to lead the change. And you guys chose to lead with a culture statement. I'm very intrigued by this. And I would love, Pitch, if you could kind of explain why start there?
Yeah, so like Stephanie mentioned about it, we always look at it how we can go from inward out, right? I mean, the foundational of the chapter leadership cohesiveness is very important in order to serve the project manager community in the Phoenix metro area. So from that angle, we look at it, how we can able to come together so that we have the strong foundation so that we can able to deliver the member value. So from that angle, we look at it and we kind of brainstorm that. We start with the accountability because everything starts from the accountability. And when you really think about the diversification, that also brings a lot of the similarity and differences, and then how we can able to collaboratively, and also how we can able to make sure that we take accountable for each other also collaboratively and also responsive to each other. Because all the function, if you really think about whether it is the board operations or the membership value or the programs or the marketing, if it is not like one function standalone would serve the purpose, right? So we always collaborate each other. So we are looking at the collaborative as well as the responsiveness to each other. And then finally, we said, what is the outcome we wanted to do from the cultural statement perspective? So we kind of come up with to serve that project manager community. So that is the way the culture statements born in our chapter.
All right, I want to dig into this further with both of you. So we all know what it's like, or hopefully as good PMs, we know what it's like to start with the end in mind, right? You mentioned you start with the business objective, or in this case, the objective of your chapter, and immediately went back to, we need to change the culture. I don't think many of us PMs would have necessarily gone there. Obviously, it worked great for you guys, but like, what was the sort of aha moment that said, you know what, it's not just fixing, this or that position, filling a position, or, changing the venue for our board dinners, or, tinkering with our membership fees or whatever. Like, we actually have to go all the way back to the beginning with culture. What brought you there? Was it just obvious to you, or did you have to go through some real introspection? Well, either of you, go ahead.
I think as a project manager, you always start with your team. If you don't have a healthy, functioning team, you're not going to get anything done. So you have to focus on what's going to help your team be healthy. And it comes down to, how do we function together? And that means establishing a good foundation. And that meant, let's come together. Let's talk about, how do we stay healthy? How do we stay working together and honest with each other? And that meant coming up with our culture statement. How do we want to work together? How do we want to stay healthy together? And it really, I think it was our very first meeting that we all came together and we all participated and brainstormed together. And it wasn't hard. Everybody participated. Pitch, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in addition to that, what Stephanie mentioned, that we always look at it, there is more than one way you can solve the problem, right? It is up to us. How do you approach it? So from that angle, it is a very inspiration for us to come up with the culture statement so that we can hold on to it. So that is the one thing we would look at it. And the other thing, like Stephanie mentioned about it, under her leadership, we always look at it, how to capitalize the individual strength for the team success. So when you really think about that, you may have a good plan in paper, but if you want to execute that plan in a more efficient way, more successful way towards that objective achievement perspective, you need to have the right level of the people, and that people need to have that right level of the attitude and personality, as well as the working towards that common goal. I think this particular cultural statement, as a team, we probably brainstormed it and come up with that. It's kind of a gel for us to kind of working together to provide that value for the membership community.
Okay, so now you guys have intrigued me even further. So you said you make it sound so easy, and that makes me skeptical, right? Like, was it all that quick and easy? Did everyone just agree and coalesce and come together around this idea? Was everyone sure this was the right answer? It would totally work, and there was not going to be any obstacles or issues?
Well, we spent time that very first day together on team building activities, getting to know each other, laying that foundation. I think you can't underestimate the value of team building. You can't just come together and then say, we're going to build a culture statement. We're going to do it this way. You have to invest in your team. You have to invest in the time. You have to be planful and know that it takes time to build a team. And that's the working sessions that we have. It takes time to get to know each other. It takes time to build that trust. It takes time to say, yes, we're going to work together. And to do that, we're going to invest the time, and we're going to get to know each other, and we're going to talk about these things, and we need to spend the time together. And through the day, getting to know each other and getting to understand each other, the culture statement was one of the work products. And another work product was working through our roles and responsibilities. Who's going to take what? Because one of the things we also needed to do as a board by the end of the day is to say, who's going to take which functions? We had changed our bylaws so that we allowed more flexibility, so that we weren't stuck in silos. So we don't have vice presidents in our chapter anymore. We have board directors, and that allows flexibility. So from time to time, we may shift roles, and that doesn't take open elections to allow people to run for a role. Instead, we have board directors, and we can shift functionality among and between ourselves so that it's a lot more fluid. And that allows us to cover roles and to cover functions and to be able to shift things around. But we needed to, by the end of the day, decide who's going to cover what functions and how are we going to get there. And that meant building that team, building fairly quickly a team understanding and that culture and establishing that and having that conversation. And so across the day, we met, I think it was, 8:30 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon. So it was across the day.
Yeah, I'm just so inspired by this.
I can tell you one other, Mike, it was not the easy thing, right? And I totally agree with you. We went through multiple times. The approach we took as a team, what the individual core values, we are looking at it against the serving the PM community in the Phoenix metro area, how we can able to align that. So that has kind of popped up a lot of the core values from individual perspective. I need to be appreciated. I need to be valued. I need to have a collaboration. People need to think about others similar to myself. So we were kind of going through this kind of a personal value system, and all of a sudden you can see a lot of the synergy between all the board members, and you kind of the certain core values are popping up. Collaborative as an example, accountability for as an example, diversity inclusion as an example, make others responsible as an example. So that is basically those words bubble up into the top. That is basically help us to kind of coin that the sentences and eventually the cultural statement form. So again, it is not the easy thing. We spent probably more than 10 or 12 rounds of the iteration from the morning and after the lunch break. And finally, we were very proud of the cultural statement. We kind of created that because we, as a team, firmly believe that is going to be our guiding principle. That is going to be our mantra, so that everybody is kind of connected through this cultural statement. And again, that was a proud moment when we done with that. And that was new to us. I mean, I'm new to At that time, I was new to the Phoenix chapter because I worked in Great Lake chapter in Michigan and Pittsburgh and Chicagoland chapter, and then finally landed in the Phoenix chapter. So I think those kind of the personal core value system really bring everybody together in order to serve the PM community.
I'm hearing something very profound here that I hope our audience is picking up on. I'm hearing that you guys started with open hearts, open minds, and a philosophy of trust the team. Right, let's get the team together and let the team guide this. This isn't about us as leaders telling the team where to go or what to do or what it should look like. This is about us together forming it without any preconceived notion of where you might end up. And that's for a lot of PMs, I imagine, for a lot of leaders, that's an uncomfortable place to be. Were you guys at all uncomfortable with this?
I think as a leader, you're always uncomfortable.
I love it.
No.
Not all leaders, but maybe the best leaders. So keep going, Stephanie. Tell us more.
Yeah, I think you have to trust your team. Pitch and I were talking about this ahead of the podcast. One of your questions was, what's your a key takeaway? And I think one of the things that I've learned being the board chair is you have to stay flexible. You have to keep changing. And that means being uncomfortable. I mean, you have to embrace new ideas, new concepts, new ways of doing things. You can't just get stuck in the old way and say, no, this is the way we've done it. This is the way it's been. This is, it feels comfortable. Change is hard. Change is uncomfortable. And so you're always uncomfortable. If change is hard, change is uncomfortable, you're always uncomfortable. That's the way it is. And so you have to keep trying things because you don't know what the next new thing is going to bring. But unless you try it and see how it works, and you don't know how it's going to work. I think some of our successes and great successes over the last couple of years have been because we've been willing to try new things. We've got some great young, energetic board members, great new volunteers who are coming in and saying, gee, I've got this idea. And it's like, okay, let's try it. And if it works, great, let's use the data and tell us how it's going. And if it's not doing so great, let's tweak it. Maybe it just needs to be tweaked. And, but unless you try it, you just aren't going to know.
So you guys talk about discomfort, but you both look so comfortable to me. Like you just knew it was going to work out so well. Was that always the case?
No.
So what was sort of the biggest moment of doubt or questioning? Like, oh no, this might not work.
I think we were trying to, one of the example I can say that I think when we were trying to put together after the cultural statement, we were trying to put together, okay, we wanted to align the 3 strategic pillar with PMI is trying to do that so that every chapter is able to align to that, the 3 strategic pillar, right? When you really think about the strategic partnership and then membership value and then how you are doing the programs and quality programs, all that from that angle. So definitely there was a lot of the healthy argument, for lack of the better, you can say that, because everybody wanted to really look at it. We need to have the strategic, the pillar, and then aligning to the cultural statement, aligning to the PMI global and objective. At the same token, we want to making sure that it needs to be very simple enough somebody can able to digest, because it is going to be our living guiding principle. We don't want to make it like a more fancy or more like a documented one. It is just out there in the paper rather than how it can be put into the action day in, day out. Mm-hmm. So we had a lot of that conversation around that. And even when you really think about how the internal function will kind of coming together, because I have worked on the other chapter, a lot of the strategic thing, and I had to go through multiple times to get those things explained for others and how it needs to be done. And eventually we'll kind of got into that kind of a simplified version where it is aligning to it. But again, it takes time because everybody has a different opinion, everybody has a different thought process, but how we can able to bring everybody together to the common goal. We always look at it from the top down. What is PMI Global is looking at it, how the chapter needs to be aligned. So that will slowly take the personal agenda or the emotion out of the equation. then you are looking at the common agenda, and then you are not looking at the personal thing. It is looking at, okay, what do we need to do in order to achieve that, right? And slowly that is kind of fading away, and then everybody was kind of aligned that. It took 2 meetings to really go through it, and then third meeting, we put together the pictorial view so that we can able to see it. That went through multiple iteration, from wordsmith all the way through how the back and forth communication needs to go, even simplify the arrows and things like that. So we look at the every detail to making sure that it is not only presented in a way, such a way that people can able to consume it. Also, it is basically being implemented in action every single the programs, even the interaction we do from a PMI membership perspective. So a lot of work, a lot of iteration with the new board members. That's where we kind of got together.
So I'm hearing new board members, and I'm hearing 2 or 3 iterations. But it sounds like 2 or 3 is not that many. Like, you guys got there pretty quickly. Were these in-person meetings, or how did these meetings go? Like, I heard one of them took all day. Like, what's it require to really kind of feel like, oh yes, we just hit the breakthrough moment?
So some of the basic fundamental. Go ahead, Stephanie. Yeah, some of the fundamental thing we try to.
Stephanie, go ahead.
We have 4 in-person working sessions a year. So we set those up quarterly. So the agreement is that we carve out 4 in-person a year. And they're a Saturday, and we have a partner here in town that gives us space in their offices that we can use on a Saturday 4 times a year. And then we have monthly meetings that are virtual, that are, we call them operations meetings. And so they're about 2 hours once a month. And then people meet, ad hoc as they need to. And then we have board meetings quarterly. So most of them are virtual. But the working sessions are where we really identify deeper issues, deeper topics that we want to really dig into and work together as a board. And those are like our strategic objectives, new initiatives that we want to dig into as a board and work together on, things like that.
So the meetings that matter, it sounds like those are almost all in person.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you got everyone from all over the greater Phoenix area to show up on a Saturday and work from 8 a.m. till 3 p.m. 2 or 3 times until everyone was like, yes, we've got it.
Yeah.
Wow. You guys are like, like, what else is new? Like, this is what we do all the time. But I don't think this is so usual. This is so typical. Like, how would you advise other chapter leaders that I'm sure are listening to this to maybe take a fresh look at how they might revitalize their boards, their chapters?
Well, it depends on how far apart people are. Our chapter spans, our Arizona is a huge state, and our chapter spans the whole state. So if we had a board member in northern Arizona, that would be really hard to require them to travel all the way down into the Phoenix metro area all the time for these sessions. So we would have to talk about that. We would probably allow them to virtual in for the session. So it depends on how far apart the people really are. We've been lucky that, Pitch, you're probably the furthest away. You're probably an hour out, aren't you? Yeah. Yes. It's hardest on you, I think. But
I'm southeast Phoenix.
Yeah. But we've had those conversations, and people on the board, when we've had the conversation about what do we want to do for the next year, or how do we want to manage this, people have all said unanimously, pretty much, these are really important meetings. We get a lot out of these meetings. We want to have these working sessions. And then we set the meetings up together and pick the dates together. So if people didn't feel strongly about having them and we wanted to maybe move them to virtual, then we would have done that as a group and revisited those working sessions.
Okay, that makes sense. So, I'm hearing a higher than average dose, I guess, of commitment and genuine feeling of we want to be a part of this and we want this to be awesome, and we're gonna make it so. So how do you? I mean, I get the culture statement. I get the sort of engage your team, the open hearts and open minds. That was my word, but do you guys disagree with it? I hope not.
Yeah.
But at some point, it's like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, this isn't just a thing to do in my spare time. This is a thing that actually really matters, and I'm fully invested in, and I want to make a difference. How do you really get that sort of vibe and maintain that sort of strong emotion?
Pitch, how would you respond? I mean, we've got some awesome board members.
I think Mike, from that angle, I think I can go back to the previous question. I wanted to kind of add that, right? So when we really introduce a new concept, Stephanie always look at it, okay, it is a new one, we need time to digest, make it simplified. So I think that kind of approaches how we wanted to move forward, that has really helped. So either we introduce a new concept, the idea, or the thing as a part of the on-site meeting, or we do it on offline and do the prep work and bring it to that. One of the things I like about the thing is in our board secretary, Heather is very good at keeping up the follow-up. And I think she asked for, okay, this needs to be done by this date. So you're working backwards, how long you need, and if you want to meet internally. So I think that mechanics really help us out to do it. So you are accountable to do it because you are committed to that particular role, like accountable to do it, and always we stick to that. So that is, I would say that's 80-90%. Things may pop up, and then I had the same situation a couple of weeks ago, and I had to go for out of country for a couple of weeks. Then somebody will step in to take care of the thing. For example, the payment, some of that things, and Shane take care of that. And we try to help each other and know the priority and making sure that how we can able to space it out in such a way that it is still, we are making progress. At the same token, we are not putting pressure for not delivering the good product and quality product from that angle perspective. I think that kind of a balanced approaches is really helping us so far, really kind of move the needle up. And sometimes we intentionally put something on hold. That is one of the examples. Last year, I would say that the sponsorship, we tried to do it in a more chapter-wide and individual, event-wide, and then ad hoc manner. So we didn't have any bandwidth to do it. And then we as a team decided, you know what, let's move that into the first quarter and then come back and do it. And then first quarter, rather than one person doing it, we form a small committee so that we can able to come through it. So we always look for what is the best way we can able to accomplish. That's what I mentioned, Mike, in the earlier. We always believe that there is more than one way you can able to solve the problem. It is up to you. How do you approach it? I think we kind of get into the rhythm of follow through that really working so far.
Okay, so I get the rhythm of follow through. Hopefully, we've all been in that place at least a couple times in our careers. But there's two things that I don't think we've gotten to the bottom of yet that I want to make sure we get to the bottom of. One was you talked about how you put something on hold, an initiative that you felt strongly about, that you realized had to be prioritized, not deprioritized, just prioritized to start later in order to get it executed properly. But before we go there, I still think there's something going on here that we haven't fully absorbed. It's not just about, I'm not going to assert anything. I'm going to put the question to you guys. I imagine that just having the mechanics of follow through, like your board secretary or whoever you mentioned, and just holding people accountable, that never really works unless people actually want to achieve the outcome that presumably your entire board shared. So even the cultural statement that you might have all nodded your heads to, if you didn't care about what you're there to do, if you didn't care about the mission, no amount of, nobody did their deadline yet, or, how come nobody's on track to their thing? Like, that's not inspiring. you guys must have inspired that kind of action. And I want to understand, like, how did you get that inspiration?
Well, I think if people feel that you genuinely care about them and what they're doing, they can then execute the work that they, I mean, they have to feel like they're not just a cog in the wheel, that you genuinely are there for them, that you're caring about what they're doing, that you're not just, that they're not just going through the motions to go through the motions, that you do, if like Pitch had to leave for a family thing, we care that's happening and that we'll cover what needs to be covered. It's not just, oh yeah, Pitch, whatever. We genuinely care and want things to be okay for him and his family. It's genuine. And I think everyone around him cares about Pitch. And I think we've created, and I think that's part of the team building, that you have to spend time getting to know each other and getting to build that team, and so that you can support each other and care about each other and build, that support of each other, so that each other can perform at their best and can then support their teams, and it kind of rolls forward. So I like to think we're all doing that as leaders, that each of the board directors has built teams, and it's been phenomenal. We've had board directors who never thought they were going to have a team ever, and they've got huge teams, and they're, it's been wonderful to watch them grow their teams and nurture and grow and do some remarkable things in just a year or 10 months time even. They never thought they'd ever have a team member. But it's because I think they've been able to feel supported, and it's because we've been, as a board, we've come together. We work as a team, which then allows them to work, with their team and to carry that forward. So I think it all stems from working together, and we're not working in silos. We're collaborating. We're doing it together, and that sets the foundation.
It really warms my heart to hear you say all that, Stephanie. And if I ever decide that the whole self-employment thing isn't for me, I'm going to apply to work for either of you guys in your day jobs, because this whole people matter and open hearts and open minds and trust your team. And, we're all human beings, right? And we're all looking for a way to make an impact, and to do so with dignity and mutual respect and all these great things. It's so easy to forget about that with all the technical aspects of our discipline in project management, right? I was early in my career a critical path analyst that was kind of heads down, just doing my thing without a whole lot of other people. But it, of course, always has to connect back to people. So thank you for not just the reminder, but the sort of reinforcement of just how important that is. And I think we as PMs, especially when we're under pressure, to just go execute and go get it done. And here's the schedule, and here's the budget, and here's the whatever, to say, well, wait a sec, we're dealing with people here. People that, need to bond and care about each other and trust each other, and know that when things do happen, like whatever happened to you, Pitch, the team's got my back. All those things are just, obvious, I guess, to most of us, but I think too easily placed as secondary when we're under pressure to go execute. And so I love that you guys put it as primary and said, no, we're leading with that no matter what. We're never going to make that secondary. So I personally got a nice sort of reinforcement of that from you both tonight. And like I said, it's not a joke. I will reach out to you both if I ever need a job, because you're the people I'd love to work for, whether it's on the board or somewhere else. Who knows? Go ahead, Pitch.
Add one more thing. I think Stephanie mentioned about the structural thing, right? So that really helped. We started doing that. So when we didn't ask people to, okay, here is the VPF membership you applied. So rather than we're taking that approaches, open up that here are the roles available, and we are looking at when people applied that, okay, what do you want to do from your career aspiration standpoint? So you are a person, you wanted to explore into the social media and marketing and all the thing as a part of your professional career. So here is the opportunity where you can able to use that PMI Phoenix as a playing ground. You can able to do it with the mentorship and things like. So that is really the eye opener. That was really the very inspirational thing which is kind of popped up. That really helped out. So that is one of the reasons, the structural thing, the way we recruit based on the individual career. So which means when they join, they wanted to make a difference. They want to grow, self-grow. So which means they will have their inspiration automatically built into that when they are coming on board into the PMI Phoenix chapter. And then they started experiencing those things and they grow in that particular role. Obviously, you have a lot of engagement and involvement from that angle. So again, going back to that, so we make a lot of adjustment internally within the chapter, how we operate, how we structure, how we collaborate. That really started showing some of the way we wanted to communicate. We wanted to add value to the PM community. So I would say that the way we structure, or the structural thing, is a huge part of the self-inspiration, and people wanted to do the work rather than somebody forced to do the work.
Love that. And, I imagine what it must have been like in your guys' shoes when you took over leadership of the chapter and you saw the declining metrics, the declining engagement, more importantly, right? And thought, okay, let's turn this ship around. But at what point did you say, not only could we turn the ship around, but we have something exemplary here. We should apply for the Chapter of the Year award.
Well, we weren't going to pass it up because we thought we had something special.
But did you start with that in mind, like as the goal, or did you just say, wait, we've just done something really cool here. Other chapters should take notice.
I thought we had something special, and I thought, yeah, let's go for it. And once the numbers started rolling in, it was just, every time I saw more numbers coming in, the data supported what I thought we had. And it was just a matter of laying out the data and letting the data speak for itself. It was pretty remarkable, I thought. And the recovery from the pandemic to a year or two after, it was pretty remarkable. And we had done a lot of automation too. So behind the scenes, there was a lot of work going on too. There was a lot of automation, a lot of getting things simplified, getting things automated, both technologically as well as paperwork-wise, those kinds of things. I can't say enough how you got to get things simplified, get those volunteers onboarded as quickly as possible, getting them off-boarded, getting them, in and out. We're still working on that, but as simple as you can get things done, volunteers can get really frustrated if it takes forever to get them onboarded or moving through the system, that kind of thing. So some of those things were being worked out as well. So, a lot of that can go a long way too.
So neither of you had it in your heads at all before you started this journey that, you know what, we're going to turn this around and become Chapter of the Year.
No.
So I presumed as much, but I wanted that to be explicit because I think so often we're taught as PMs to be goal-oriented and to start with a goal in mind and work backwards from there. And certainly I think there's, a lot of wisdom in that. But I like how you guys took no, let's just make this a better place for people to want to be. Let's make this a higher impact place. Let's make this a place that honors the human beings here and allows, the establishment of genuine trust and bonds. And then we'll do great things. And I think there's sort of a, step 1, step 2, step 3 recipe there. What do you think?
Well, and I have to, I would be remiss if I didn't do a shout out to our past board chair, Shane Kurtachi, who was setting the foundation too before I came in. So, he was really setting that foundation, and then we just kind of kept it moving in that direction. But he had laid a lot of foundational stuff. So, gotta give some shout outs here. And he got
Yeah, right on.
chapter leader of the year
Award,
at the same time.
Perfect. Apropos,
Yeah.
it sounds. Okay,
Yeah.
so then
Yeah.
what now? Where do you take things forward now that we're in 2024?
I know if we could win it again, I think we're in good position because we've just kept going. We've got even more, better programs and new things happening, but I don't think they're going to do that again. So we'll just
Well,
cheer on the next winners. Yeah.
Well, or keep doing what you're doing, right? Like put people first. That's a great recipe. Go ahead, Pitch.
Yeah, I think now we set the bar high and standard. We wanted to making sure that we keep up and live with that. I think there is a lot of the internal operational thing which is happening. I think like Stephanie mentioned about, right, we wanted to making sure that change is happening. We adopt the change and we are flexible to kind of that. And then this is a kind of a measurement for us, right? How the changes is we are putting in place is working. And then we started gathering those data points. We can able to validate ourselves with this is working. This is basically helping us to meet that our original planned objective. We are achieving that. We are not achieving it. Let's make that changes. So I think the constant monitoring measurement is really helping us. And that is also helping us to keep the needle in the same level and also try to move up so that you can continue to do it. End of the day, we are the chapter exists to provide that value to the PM community, right? I mean, we always put the people first and then look for the membership value. If we can make the connection, there's the starting point and the ending point, and then you know what to do in between in order to reach that end goal, right? So that's the way we are kind of looking at it. A lot of the digital things which are happening. So that is really the good thing because now you are not in your core function, you are not doing a lot of the administrative work. You are kind of using the technology, using the digitization to automate a lot of the thing. Now your data is handy. So we are now slicing and dicing the data, and then you are making the informed and educated decision in you kind of making changes into the program. And even now you have a quick turnaround time when you wanted to make any changes because your data is showing the story. Where did we start, how we got here, and where do you want to go? I think those kind of the storytelling, those kind of the data point we are focusing more on. And then also we are leveraging some of the thought spot thing, which is PMI is providing that to analysis the membership value and membership, the concentration and industry and what roles they are playing. And there is a lot of data points we can able to customize that program to target it for the certain PM community and all that. So I think now we kind of moved into more like using the data and making that. And now we are analyzing the data and making the program more effective and efficient in a more targeted fashion. I think we are in, like you mentioned about, we are in the step 2 right now. And then we continue to move to the step 3, whatever the next level of the changes we wanted to bring it to the chapter as well as our PM community.
So Stephanie, following on what Pitch just said, if you have some of this interesting data, you have better member engagement, you've got some momentum behind you for sure. What's next? Like, what are the big new initiatives, or what's sort of the next sort of big thing that has you guys excited for how to move the needle going forward?
Well, there are a couple of different programs that we're really working on. One is I have been trying to get a next gen program going. And we've been making inroads with the university population. But
is next gen like recruiting younger members?
Yeah, like the 18 to 35. I'd really like to get like a board liaison in that younger population. Right now, I met somebody at the Leadership Institute meeting who was a young, I'll call her leader, because she's gonna rock the world, I tell you. She has a lot going on. She's with another couple of chapters out west, and I meet with her regularly. And every time I meet with her, I come away with lots of notes. And I've stayed connected with her. And, it's just the younger generation thinks differently. They interact with the world differently. They have different ideas, and we need to learn from them because I think differently, and I just don't have that perspective. And so I want to have that perspective feeding into the board so that we don't lose sight of that. We just don't have that younger perspective right now that in that age range. And so that's something that I really want to make sure that we're trying to continue to try to tap into and make sure is feeding into our board perspective. Because that's
what's one idea that comes to mind either from that person or I don't know, any other source of great ideas for where you just love to take things next?
Podcasts.
Better or a podcast.
Yeah, a podcast led by that kind of age range, kind of generated and led by that age range with some topics that they curate. So that'll be interesting to get started. So we're looking at trying to get that going.
Yeah, well, please let me know once it is going. I'll be one of your first customers. So
yeah.
So I know
but we
have
need to get a committee going and that kind of thing.
Oh, you've already got a committee set up to maybe spearhead that?
No, we need to get one going, but the first step is getting a volunteer, getting the lead,
Yeah, right on. Hey, so I know we've got just a little bit of time left before our full hour is up here. I understand that we have a place to take questions from any listeners, so feel free to take advantage of that. I could talk to these guys all night, so no problem dominating the stage. But if we have specific things the audience wants to hear, I've got I have a bug in my ear telling me what the questions are. So happy to just channel them directly into the last part of our session here. Hey, so I'm also curious. I remember back when I started pondering whether I should get engaged in a PMI chapter board. My thinking was, well, even if it's a terrible experience, I guess I could put it on my resume. I guess there'll be a free dinner out of it here or there. But you know what? They want me to meet on a Saturday all day and do a bunch of stuff. I don't know. Can I at least get PDUs for that? And, what's in it for me? How do you guys kind of break through the understandable reservations that I bet a lot of people have, like I know I had, to say, no, this is actually going to be a high impact thing that we're just all going to love doing?
Pitch, you want to take it or you want me to?
Yeah, I think it's basically the setting up the expectation upfront, right? If you are committed as a volunteer in the board, and if you wanted to really make an impact and difference on the PM community, you better have that commitment, right? I mean, I think the other thing also we look at it, we don't force the volunteer. I mean, any volunteers applying that, we just understand their requirement. Okay, I cannot be in a virtual meeting. I cannot be in an on-site meeting, right? I can only do virtual. Any support. I can do only backend support. I can only do 4 hours in a week. So we kind of play based on the needs and then do that. So that really helps us out to cater the volunteers, those who are applying that, whether the board position or the manager position or the volunteer position, or even in the remote. I mean, one of the things I think I mentioned about earlier, the career aspiration people applying it, the Flagstaff and Yuma, we normally do the virtual. And if you think about the point of contact in Flagstaff, it is 3 hours, and we do that on a quarterly basis, and people come to in person, and a couple of board members drive from here and attend that. So that shows the career aspiration, the volunteer work, it's aligning to their career aspiration, and they are also learning, they are applying into the professional work they are doing that. So that really like a multiple win-win situation from that angle. So those are the things really helping. If somebody basically applying for the board position, they have a commitment, and then we set up the expectation upfront. So if we are looking for, here is the objective, and we need to meet 4 times in person because here is the need, if you wanted to do that. If we get 100% attendance in that, I honestly know, right? 1 or 2 drop off will be there for some reason. And same thing happened a couple of weeks ago. We all met and I couldn't able to join. But again, the commitment, anything which is basically within our control, we wanted to making sure that we hit it. And that's the way the mindset of the board members in PMI Peony. So that really helping to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, I love that. Mindset first. That's the message I'm getting loud and clear from you both throughout this entire session here. So, I'm hearing lots of, hey, let's meet people where they are. Let's make sure we understand what's in it for them. Let's tailor things so that they can actually achieve the things that they want to achieve out of this experience. All beautiful things. But I'm hearing something bigger than all that. I'm hearing, hey, we started with something that actually is a shared objective or the shared cultural desire, right? We're starting with what I'll call a how might we, right? Like, it's not just what's in it for each of us individually, because ultimately that's just a selfish endeavor, even though it can be important. We all want to grow. We all want to get something out of this. But this notion of, no, we're in it together. This is not about just one person or one person's desires. This is about how we as a group are going to shape the direction we uniquely want to go in together. I wonder if you could comment on that, Stephanie.
Well, I agree. I think volunteers get most engaged if they feel like they have a voice, if they feel like they're actually contributing to where things are moving to, and it's a partnership. If they feel like they're being handed something and told what to do, they're going to be less engaged. They're going to be less likely to want to participate, to be a volunteer. If they feel like they're part of and they're helping shape something, that's when we see the most energy. That's when we see the most engagement. And we've seen several volunteers just step up, take a program, shape it, develop it, and run with it. And it's just been phenomenal to see what they've done with it. And so it is really a partnership, and you have to be ready, willing, and able to let the volunteers be partners with you.
Yeah, it just warms my heart to think that what inspires a lot of them is, hey, they're part of something bigger than just themselves or their own individual career aspirations. They're part of this great high-performing team where we all care about each other. We want to move the needle. We want to make a difference with our unique skill set that is project management. So I think no better time to wrap up on that note, right? A nice high note. And I'd like to hand it back to Beth May to take us home.
Thanks. I was just contemplating how important many of the concepts you discussed, and I loved how Mike paraphrased them with open hearts, open minds, mindset, caring about others, and some of the other important points, engagement, feeling heard and seen. And I was thinking of how all of these things are applicable to the nonprofit I run, Project Management for Change, but also to the corporate world, right? Employee engagement is so important. And when your employees feel heard and seen, and they know you care, and they know they're making an impact, that's when you get employee engagement. And that's why I was excited about this topic, because everything you've discussed is equally relevant to the for-profit corporate world. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. We have, for closing, one announcement and one reminder. The announcement is our next I'm so excited. Our next True Talks Live episode will be on April 2nd. That's also a Tuesday, same time, same place. The topic on April 2nd will be artificial intelligence and the impact on project management. I hope you'll be able to join us on April 2nd. And as a reminder, don't forget to submit your claim for your PDU. Thank you and have a great night.